Hello, hello, good morning. I think we can all agree that we have something like we remember about sound, about resonance, about frequency, that it's like in all of us, but we just do not remember. It might probably be because our ancestors, I mean, obviously the history that we've been told is not right, is not true. So, what happened? And that's where the Tartarian Empire comes. And yeah, so Tartaria whispers of a forgotten wall where architecture, song with the universe, healing flow through sound, humanity lived in harmony with the ether and the legacy weird yet waiting to be rediscovered. And we are rediscovering it. Like many of us are incredibly sick, or we've been incredibly sick, and we are looking for ways. And we remember how we used to heal, how we used to live, and mainly it's been in throughout the history of humanity through sound frequency resonance. And I believe this is why all these churches, all these places were about, even the bells, all those bells that were toned in different frequencies were there for a reason and were there actually to heal us. At some point in history, they were removed and they were changed and they changed the tone of them. So, and also we forgot about all this. So a brief story about Tartaria. According to alternative historical accounts, was a colossal empire that flourished before the Mongol invasions, potentially stretching from Eastern Europe across Asia and even influencing parts of the Americas. Described as the largest empire of its time, it was leader in advanced technology, free energy, grand architecture. Some sources claim Tartaria's origins trace back to the descendants of Noah's sons, suggesting a deeply ancient lineage. The empire downfall is tied to a catastrophic event known as the Mud Flood, a mysterious deluge that allegedly buried Tartarian cities under layers of mud in the 18,000s. Buildings worldwide with windows and doors partially or fully submerged are cities as evidence of this event. This cataclysm, combined with the deliberate erasure by colonial powers and religious institutions, supposedly wipe out Tartaria from historical records, relegating it from cartographic error in mainstream narratives. So, why was Tartaria hidden? Theories suggest its advanced technology and field global culture threatened the colonial narrative of Western dominance. By erasing Tartaria, modern powers could control the historical narrative, suppress free energy technologies, suppress sound healing, free healing, and disconnect humanity from an harmonious past. So I believe we used to live in this, almost perfect state where energy was flowing, the way we were living was, perfect. And then some powers, which we all know who they are, basically started, um, they delete us. I believe as well this is the reason why at the beginning of last century there were so many mad houses. So the ones that didn't agree with this were basically labeled as mad, same as nowadays with conspiracy theories, and put away so their descendants didn't know anything about it. So healing and spirituality in Tartarian society is said to have been deeply spiritual, integrating science, nature, consciousness in ways modern society struggles to comprehend. Their spirituality wasn't bound by a single religion, but aligned with universal principles, often described as connection to Christ consciousness or the natural frequencies of Earth. Again, it's all about same as I believe Tesla basically was remembering this. He was not inventing anything. He was just basically remembering it, or the information was passed down to him and he was basically applying it. So, healing through architecture and sound. Tartarian buildings, particularly their cathedrals, mosques, and temples, were not mere places of worship, but multifunctional, etheric power stations and healing centers. These structures were designed by a sacred geometry using shapes like the Fibonacci sequence and golden ratio to resonate with a specific frequency such as 432 and so on, the natural frequency 528, low frequency, and so on. These vibrations promoted emotional balance, spiritual growth, and physical healing. The use of dynamic sound waves creating visible patterns was central to Tartarian healing. Pipe organs in these buildings weren't just musical instruments, they produced sound waves to harmonize and heal the population. Bells to played a significant role. Their vibration, believed to extend beyond audible sound to influence consciousness and well-being. Tartarians were also thought to be breatharians, deriving energy directly from the ether, a cosmic medium, to the space-time continuum and so on, rather than food or water. This altered physiology meant their building lacked contribution plumbing, with bathrooms serving as social gathering spaces rather than, you know, what they use them nowadays. This is amazing because, the more I've been healing with this, the more I realize the less food we need. I mean, in a way, food is poison, you know, it really is. Our body translates it into poisoning ourselves in a way. Obviously, we are so used to being carb addict people that we forgot that we have other mechanism of action where our brain, our body becomes clear. So some people actually claim that they can actually breathe air and just live. I mean, I believe to do that, you have to be extremely, extremely clean. And this is not how we are nowadays. But if we were, I believe it's very much possible to live off air. And when I say air, I mean ether. And this is something that we again forgot about ether. Why on earth was ether erased from all of it? Same as the fourth state of water and the five elements. So yeah, a unified spiritual paradigm. Tartari's architecture and symbols suggest a global interconnected culture that transcended regional differences from stars, forts, and dome structures. Their buildings share consistent designs across continents, hinting a standardized belief system. This unity might have clashed with emerging religious dogmas, leading to the repurposing of Tartarian structures into churches, mosques, government buildings by later powers such as Vatican and so on. So yeah, the architecture is also incredibly healing, and you can also I still we are living on top of it. We can still access to these churches, such as La Sagrada Familia in Barcelona and all these places. When you go in, you actually feel this energy. But the repurposing of all this and the bells and all this makes that something or someone is actually feeding from this energy instead of these places feeding energy to us or actually being healing. So yeah, materials. Tartarian builders use durable material like stone, brick, wood, with intricate carvings and mosaics reflecting advanced masonry skills. I mean, if you look at the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, and how on earth did they build that? And yet they've been, I don't know how many years trying to finish it and still, in progress. They have no clue. They have no idea how on earth they built all these structures. And yeah, nowadays we're living in like horrible boxes that are limiting our minds, that are making us sick, and that above a third floor, you cannot even connect to earth to have a connection with it. It's such a horrible thing, and it made me so brutally sick along everything else that but again, the body remembers and we remember. So when we are healing from these diseases and or not, we just basically start remembering that we are not meant to live this way, that organic structures bring us peace, that sound resonance brings us, heals us. More than anything I've done, more than anything ever, same as the electrics of earth. So yeah, why does this matter today? The Tartarian narrative invites us to question the gasp in our historical knowledge, no? The grandeur of their architecture, the sophistication of their technologies, and their holistic approach to spirituality and healing suggest a civilization far more advanced than modern narratives allow. By exploring Tartaria, we reconnect with the past, with our architecture vibrated, with harmonic resonance, energy was free, and humanity lived in a balance with nature, which is where we have to go again. But, unless we do that, unless we start flowing into that direction, this is why, entheogens have a big, huge part in this, because when you're in these states of consciousness, you actually realize that this ethereal wall is happening. It's there, and it's there for a reason. We have other ways, but mostly via sound and color is how we access these realms and how we access healing. Many times healing these diseases, we are, looking at enzymes and microbes and all this stuff, but we forget the basic, and the basic is about this. What do we resonate with? And I always make the question to anyone, like, what kind of music do you like? Because this is gonna be you. This is what's gonna become yourselves, what's gonna become the water that's conscious, that is inside you. So all these things matter. And yeah, we can talk about enzymes, we can talk about supplements, we can talk about all these things which are important, but this is the core of why the body changes and why we get sick on the first place, which is critical. So yeah, if you are interested, there is a ton of information on this. But what I wanted to talk about mainly is how music was a daily practice of the Tartarians, the integration of music in the daily lives of Tartarians and Turkic peoples was perceived to be of the utmost importance. With dedication, affectionate to Tartarians, they educated their families when it comes to musical terminology in the designated, temples and so on. They used semitones or the smallest intervals in a chromatic scale. The Nordic Tartarians and Turkic peoples used semitones or the smallest intervals in a chromatic scale, melodies or sequences of notes that were played by Nordic Tartarians. Entire communities, people would hold conversations about sound healing techniques and musical composition, where for the usage of harmonic intervals or notes of different pitches that are played together simultaneously. Um, even if you do not play an instrument, even if you can't sing, you have to have some sort of, let's call it, uh, yeah, I don't even know how to tone yourself with nature, tone yourself to frequencies. If you are not able to hear that, you're gonna get very sick. I'm not even joking. This is like the most or the strongest healing medicine that you can probably find. And if you're able to use your voice to do that, it doesn't matter how bad you sing, it just doesn't matter. Just try singing, try. This is gonna regulate your nervous system, it's gonna regulate yourself along all this ethereal planet, let's call it, that we just basically missed. No, music was used as a frequency of healing. So basically, recreational grounds, memorial gardens, ornament parks of the Greater Tartarian, large crowds would gather during the evening times and would instruct other Tartarians about composition aspects like scale of the sequences of upward and downward notes on a keyboard with pattern intervals between them. I find it really amazing that Hebrew and each Hebrew letter has a certain number, a certain frequency. That's not by mistake, and I believe that all the manipulation that was done by and to language was for the same reason, as word creates, sound creates, and imagination creates. So all these things are what's going to shape our reality. So the elites that didn't want us to know, for us to know that we do actually have the power, created all these languages to have to have us all confused. And obviously when you're sick, you get into loops where all you can do and all you can repeat is like how constantly you're sick you are, and all these things are going to make the situation a lot worse. So you have to create you know um, the sound of music, let's call it. You have to create a symphony out of your life. If you are able to create with your imagination a symphony out of it, it doesn't matter if you play an instrument, it doesn't matter, you have a particular sound, you have a particular song that same as the whales have, uh, and that's gonna be the rhythm and the way that everything materializes in your life. That's how we create matter. It's just that we actually forgot that this is how it works. And I believe many of us are living these nightmares, being years sick in hell and so on, to remember this. And it's incredible because the moment you can again imagine it, like I said other times, you can create it. And that's how it was for me. When I was at my worst and I had neuroinflammation, I couldn't even possibly imagine myself walking or even thinking. No, there was a point that the melody started. I could start listening to music again. By the way, certain things, certain music was such a huge help. You wouldn't imagine. And yeah, that's what we become, and that's how everything was created, out of sound, out of light, out of frequency. And it like might sound a bit happy. I don't give a fuck. It's how it is, and that's something that we have to remember again. Same as we have to remember that we are not isolated creatures, and that we are constantly communicating with each other, and therefore thinking that everything is possible in that sense, and being able to imagine it, same as Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot, you have to become it. And to become it, you have to become this certain frequency, this certain sound. So again, the use of color is really important as well. But yeah. So yeah, that was how Great Tartaria used to work, and I really hope that very soon we create something that's even better for this. But for this, we have to, for now, fight for ourselves, and we are all of us living our battles within. Because once we fix what's within us, we're gonna fix what's outside of us, and that's the real fight, the real proper one. And sound is there to help us, and it's all there is. Same as love, it's all there is. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.